Namaskar to all our guests today. On behalf of GACS, I welcome all our guests in this room today who have joined us and who are going to be joining us soon. There's a lot of people waiting and coming in. Uh, Today we are all here to, in the session of leaders need to be fillers, a leadership habit with positive interaction and helping nature. Before I invite Colonel Vijay Dhawan, I would like to thank him for accepting our invite and being here with us to conduct this session today for us. Just a little brief about Colonel Vijay sir. He has got a vast experience, about 30 years in the army and corporate, mainly in the leadership, management, training, human resources, blah 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 blah, and a long list. He is a very passionate person and a great enthusiast who is an expert in leadership management, personal and interpersonal effectiveness, strategy, business, team building, motivation, and team building, etc. He has trained almost in 170 companies, including the Big Five, Fortune 5, and he has trained almost more than 5,500 leaders in this journey of his as a trainer and facilitator. He is a PG diploma in management and logistics. Being an army man, he has expertise in his defense studies and logistics and management. I'll not take very long and hand over and invite Colonel Vijay and request him to further introduce Colonel Sandesh also, who's with us, his partner. Over to you, sir. All the best.
A lot, Vijay Pal. We are absolutely delighted to be here. It's me conducting the workshop today online, and I have my partner Sandesh Sharma, Colonel Sandesh Sharma. He's ex-Signal, and that's him waving. And I hope some of you can put on your videos and wave back. I can only see Puneet Bhatnagar and Sarto with his covered face. Yeah, we got a lot of people. You guys, you can put on your videos. It's better we see each other. Some of you are lying down on the ground. So that's Sandesh, and that's me. And we run a company called Visage Training and Consulting, and that's all to do with trainings in leadership, effectiveness, productivity, and having an army background and now in the corporates for the last 12 years, we've had a lot of experience, and so we want to share a little part of it today with you. And uh, uh, Sandesh, say hello. Say hello, Sandesh. All right, let's get into the subject. Thanks, Sandesh. Welcome. I thank Ashok sir and VP for giving us the opportunity to see you guys and interact with you for the next about 40 minutes we have. Thank you very much, and looking forward. Yeah. So the subject itself is leaders need to be fillers. And what is this all about? We'll just come to it. And I've already introduced ourselves a little, but the essence of what we're going to do today and the backbone of what we're going to do today is simple, but very profound. And what it says is each of us has an invisible bucket inside of us. It's constantly filled or empty depending on what others say and do to us. And when our bucket is full, we feel great. When it's empty, we feel awful. It sounds very simple, but let's get into it and see how does that affect us in our lives. So just so that we've already done the introduction. That's me in front of you. This face of mine is here. I've been in the armored regiment. I commanded 45 cavalry. I've been training for the past 12 years. I'm a cyclist, so we've done a lot of cycling. I'm also an anti-poaching instructor. I'm a diver. I'm also on 3 or 4 boards as independent director. We've 3 companies. A lot of these companies are big companies on the Fortune 500. So much for me. This today is about you. So let's get to that. What are we going to do today? Well, we're going to touch upon the power of positive psychology. What is this interaction in life that we talk about? Of course, there's going to be a story from the military. And what is the key to remain energized and motivated? And then I have a small action plan for you at the end of it. Let's get on to it. We don't have to look far from what's going on around us. And Alvin Toffler had earlier predicted, and he said to us, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I think God has given us an ideal opportunity today to look into ourselves. And for all the wise men who've been talking about this lockdown that we are in right now, they all say if you don't come out of it increasing your values or reskilling yourself for the new world, and believe me, it's going to be a change world in front of us. If we don't come out with something new, we have wasted our time in the lockdown. And part of this is to attend meetings like so that we are having right now, so that we know where we are and where we need to be. But where are we and where do we need to be? So I'd encourage you to get back to the drawing board, and I'm going to flash a little spider web for you just it's just one of those things that one has to revisit, and it's about the 9 job skills to succeed in the post-corona virus world. What are the things that people are going to be looking at in as far as the world ahead is concerned? So I've listed for myself 9 of these: adaptability and flexibility, tech savviness, creativity and innovation, data literacy, critical thinking, digital and coding skills, leadership, emotional intelligence, and the ninth being commit to a lifetime of learning. I think that not many jobs are going to be very safe in the future. So this is what I need to do. I need to do a SWOT analysis as far as I'm concerned and see where I am. So if you do something like this, you will have a graph as is visible in front of us, and this graph will tell us, okay, these are the areas that I am strong in, and these are the areas that I need to work on. As far as, let's take this example in front of us. I'm tech savvy. I'm very good in data literacy. I'm just giving you an example. It's not me I'm talking about. But maybe there are places that I need to work on, like my emotional intelligence, or like my leadership abilities, or like my creativity and innovation that people are going to be looking for at the end of the lockdown. So this is the best time to do it. And one of the things that we are going to do today is to look at, you may have a graph like this or the one previously given. You may look at some of these which you actually can develop. Now, a number of these skills that are in front of us relate to the computer world. And if you're an IT professional, good for you, more power to you. But those of us sitting here who are ex-military or who have been in management roles, we need to very strongly look at the areas that our strengths are. Something like leadership, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, creativity and innovation, adaptability and flexibility, committing to a lifetime of learning. I mean, these are the areas we really can do something about. Right. So what are we going to do about it? Have you ever wondered why productivity in various teams are different? Why you are happy to see some people and not happy to see some others? I mean, it's a natural thing that you have. You in your mind have this set of people who you're happy to meet, and the set of people you just don't want to meet, and that's obviously. I put a small other roundel next to it, and it says how you can ensure you don't get a divorce after marriage, at least for a reasonable time. Now, why I've said this is because the subject that we are dealing in, the bucket and the dipper principle that we're talking about later on, pertains not only to our professional life, but also our personal life. Pardon me, I get distracted because there's a lot of entries coming in, and I have to admit them also. So, now, we were supposed to do there was some technical hitch, but I'll put the question to you, and you got to just think about it. I know there are some obvious answers, but let's see. What is the number one reason that people leave the jobs? What is that number one reason? And a lot of you were thinking about, oh, it's because of the boss. It's because of the boss and the fact that people don't feel appreciated. That's the number one reason. Whether it's your boss or whether it's the colleagues around you, uh, if I'm not appreciated in an environment, I'd rather leave and find my niche somewhere else than stay in a job where I'm not happy or I'm not appreciated. So, what do I do as a leader in an organization to ensure that people do get appreciated for the work that they do? Let's move on. Now, here's the book on which this particular workshop is based, the one we are holding right now. It is called the How Full Is Your Bucket? It's been written by these two gentlemen, Clifton and Tom Rath. Clifton was also in the Gallup, and he initiated a Discover Your Strengths tool inside of Gallup. It was a very successful way, and those of you who are in HR would know the strength of this tool inside. Now, it's all about positive psychology, but how does that convert to us, and how does it help us, is something that we are going to unravel today. So, Don had worked in the field of psychology for about 50 years. Now, in his initial years only, he noticed that psychology was basically a study in what is wrong with people. What's wrong with people? And he questioned the sense, and he said, why don't we also discover what's right with people? And as he studied the subject more, he came to this concept of interactions, the interactions we humans have every day. Now, the importance of interaction and what does it mean to us is something that we're going to move on to. Now, he said to us, he discovered that our lives are shaped by interactions. Now, let me give you an example. You go to the office, hire an Uber, you go down, and the Uber guy looks at you and gives you a dirty look. That's an interaction. You're traveling, he says something, that's an interaction. You look out and there's this motorcycle wala who's waving or smiling at you, that's an interaction. You come to the gate, there's that security guard who gives you that Jai Hind Sahab kind of a deal, that's an interaction. So our lives are shaped with this interaction that we have every day. Now, these could be positive or these could be negative. They are rarely neutral. And the ones that are neutral just pass by. I mean, we don't remember them. Either the positive or the negative, a positive or a negative. And this affects our lives, all our lives, these interactions that we have. And that's where he came up with this concept of bucket and dipper. Now, this bucket and dipper concept makes hell of a lot of sense as I explain it to you in the next slide. All of us have invisible buckets, are ourselves invisible buckets. Now, there are interactions coming to us. If we are people who have our buckets full of positive interactions, the one on the left, as I'm indicating it, we feel very energized, happy, motivated, positive about life, and we are full of, wow, man. If we have, we ourselves are full of these positive interactions. Then there is a second bucket where it's not full, but it's not empty. So you're like, okay, I mean, it's a normal day. You're not really, enthusiastic about things going around. You're going around life, and it's normal for you. Okay, fine. But the third one is a bit sad. This is a bucket. This is a person who does not have positive interactions. He's probably been dipped into too much, and his bucket is empty. And this person is going to be negative. He's going to be sad. He's going to be a obstruction as far as your workplace is concerned. So I'm not saying 100% or 50% or 0%. You could be somewhere. And these levels inside our buckets are constantly changing. There are some criteria for that, which we'll talk about. But the other side of the story becomes very interested. Now look at this man. Each one of us not only has a bucket, we also have a dipper. वो कुल्लड़ होता है ना जो पानी निकालते हैं. We have a dipper. Now see the shape of the dipper as I've made this in front of you. When let's say I meet the security guards, he said Jai Hind, and I और सब ठीक ठाक है मोहन, घर में ठीक ठाक है. What I've done is I put a little water into his bucket from here. As I put a little water into his bucket, a positive interaction as we call it, a little water also gets into my bucket. Now look at the beauty of this whole scene that's going on. As I fill up the bucket of somebody else, my bucket also constantly fills up. Now the other way is also true. And what is, if I take out water from your bucket, what I'm essentially also doing is take out water from my bucket. And he says, Jai Hind Saab to you, and you say, Mohan, तेरे को ड्रेस का कोई सेंस नहीं है, इतना गंदा कपड़ा पहन के आता तुम बेवकूफ कहीं का. Now what have I done? I've taken out some water from his bucket. What it actually does is also takes out your own water. So as far as you're concerned, it's a constant adding or removing of water or positive interactions from your own buckets, as well as buckets of people in your life. When you say people in your life, it could be your team members, it could be your boss, it could be a colleague, a friend, a spouse, a son, a daughter, anybody. Everybody's got this invisible bucket, and we have dippers in our hands. We've got to decide whether we are going to put the water in or we're going to take out the water. A decision that we need to take ourselves. Having talked about the bucket and water, a little more ahead. What percentage, just for you to think, what percentage of professionals received no recognition in the workplace last year? That means they were not appreciated at all. How much percentage do you think that would be? I'll flash the answer to you. We haven't got the whole thing working for us. Can you imagine? It's 62%. There's some survey done. 62% of people have not been appreciated in the workplace. Now, what does that say about the expected level of engagement of these people in the workplace if you not even been appreciated by your boss or people around you? You do a good job and says, "I mean, ये तो तुम्हारा काम था भाई." There's nothing to it. And that is a bit killing. This statistic itself is a bit alarming as far as the workplace is concerned. To you, we're going to have a story from the military, and very it's a very telling tale in psychology. This is about the Korean War. Now, the Korean War was held uh, by United States with its allies on one side and North Korea on the other side. It was between 1950 and 1953. About more than 4 million people lost their lives in the Korean War in the 1950s. And I'm not going to talk about the military history of the war or how it was fought, uh, MacArthur, what he did or he did not do. But I would come to the point which gave an impetus to positive psychology. And the lessons came from this war. There were a lot of prisoners of war who were captured by the North Koreans. Americans were captured because the war went up and down between North Korea and South Korea, and ultimately the Chinese also came into the war. So there were a lot of prisoners in the North Korean camps. Amazingly, after the war, when the prisoners were freed, 38% of the prisoners had died in the North Korean camps. And one would imagine that they were killed by the North Koreans, like in World War II, the Jews were killed. One would imagine all of that. But it wasn't that. From all the evidences collected by the Americans, there was no cruelty in the camps. There were not even barbed wires. There were no armed guards, and people did not even try to escape. Now that goes absolutely against what we are taught in the military, and we were told, listen, if you're caught by the enemy, your duty is to escape. You gotta just escape. That's the job that you have. So this is a very odd situation that came that they discovered, and there was this psychologist of the army called Major William Mayer who studied 1,000 POWs. Imagine after they were freed, most of them did not even want to talk to the families on the telephone. They were told, "Bhai, baat kar lo." Didn't even talk. I mean, this was a very amazing incident that happened. So what happened? How did this happen? I mean, what took place? And they discovered that the Koreans had used the ultimate weapon for war, and that was against the minds of the POWs. A term which they called marasmus, term which meant a disease of extreme hopelessness, passivity, and no motivation. Now they had brought the POWs, the prisoners, to such an extent, to such a point that they didn't give a damn. They just let go. There was no hope in them. Now it's very interesting for professionals like us to know why. I mean, how do they do it? They brainwash this whole group of people who were absolutely motivated when they went to war to such an extent they just gave up and died. So the reasons uh, had to be gone into, and then they discovered that the four methods that Koreans had used. Now those of the people who are in the workshop today who is listening in will find a common ground in what I just say and the way our army also tells us to do things or not to do, or what kind of cultures we should have in the military. First of all, the first thing they did was they rewarded people who came and informed on their own colleagues. If I come and tell you that Manoj, he be doing escape, they'll give me a packet of cigarettes. Ah, very well done, well done. But the other side of the story is they will not do anything to Manoj also. So I'm encouraged to go and inform them. Snitch is the word. Those of you who fond of Al Pacino's lecture in Scent of a Woman, where he talks about snitching in his last speech, it makes a lot of sense. So they encourage people to break bonds and start to empty the buckets of each other by informing on each other. Break the bond between them. There's no emotional bond. The other thing they made a regular feature was every evening they would get all the prisoners together, get a few on stage in front, and ask them to criticize themselves. What is the bad things that they did in life, and what could have they done better? So the first thing you have to come on top and say something wrong that you have done in life. When I was young, I had a friend. I took all his toys, and he never knew who took it. So everyone's looking at you and saying, "What kind of a person are you here?" What did they do? Again, empties of each other. The third thing that they did in that period was they broke the loyalty of the leadership of the country. A very famous story that came out after the war was about a group of prisoners. One of them started to drink water from a paddy field, and there was a colonel close by, and the colonel turned around and told the soldier, "Private, don't drink this water. It's not good for you. You might fall ill." And the soldier turned around and says, "Why are you telling me all this? You are a prisoner. You are as bad as I. Nobody tell me anything." I mean, he really abused the colonel. In that particular story that I'm narrating, that colonel got so disheartened, so disappointed, that he went to a depression and died subsequently. Just gave up. So the third method where they took out the water from their buckets. The fourth method that they applied was they withheld all positives. Everything positive was withheld. If you had a letter coming to you which said that your son has done well in school, they would tear the letter away. If another letter came to say that your son has been misbehaving in school and he's creating a ruckus, they would give you the letter. So all you got from the outside world was a negative interaction, not a positive interaction. So here was an extreme case and in the prisoners of war of Korea, which highlighted the importance of an emotional bond between human beings. That's what they were denied, and that's why a lot of them just gave up and died. It was a very interesting study to reinforce the importance of emotional bonding as far as human beings are concerned. A subject that we talked about just. The case study of the POWs of Korean War brought out the importance of emotional support required for human beings. So Don thought to himself, and he said to himself, if negativity has such an impact, can positivity have a greater, even stronger impact than negativity? And he thought of this concept of the bucket and the dipping principle. A question to you, think about it, and you'll be surprised by the answer, by the way. How many individual positive or negative movements do we experience every day? Every day. How many such movements do we come across? One would imagine 100, 1,000, and the answer to the question is an average of 20,000 interactions. Look at the deluge of interactions that we are talking about. Everything that we do. You're sitting there in your home, you're watching me. This is an interaction. Your kid comes to you and says, "Papa," and that is an interaction. I mean, whatever you're doing, there's an interaction going on as far as you're concerned. You get a message on the WhatsApp, that's an interaction with you and your whoever sent the message. 20,000, that's hell of a lot of interactions. Now we experience interactions every day. Negativity, like negativity, what it's going to do is take out the water from the bucket, will erode our well-being and productivity. Fortunately, positive experiences are much more powerful. In the image in front of you, this guy on the right is more powerful than these group of negative interactions on the left. It has more power to fill buckets in people than the negative influences that we have around us. Another question for you to think about: what kind of employees can scare away every customer they speak to for good? Which is this variety of customers, variety of employees that will scare away the customers? And the answer lies in the attitude of the employees. A negative minded employee would scare away customers. When I say customers, he'll be rude to stakeholders, he'll create negativity in the workplace. This kind of a person is dangerous as far as the workplace is concerned. Now, when we talked about positivity, great recognition and praise can transform a workplace. Now, what are we talking about out here? Let's get into this recognition and praise. Now, the HR professionals on this call right now would understand that the power of recognition and praise. What does it do to the workplace? You improve productivity. Your customers are happy with you. Your employees are engaged. You have lesser attrition in the workplace. Your safety records are better. You have more life in workplace. If you have these human interactions, as you're calling it, positive human interactions in the workplace, and now take the whole argument and flip it on your side, and imagine a workplace which does not have these and has more of negative interactions, it's going to be absolutely opposite to what we just been talking about. There's a story about a CEO who was a CEO of a very big company, and he had his offices all over the country. This CEO used to travel to every office, not to go and spy on them. He did not go to them to find out what is the sales like, or what are the notes, and all of that he could get very well sitting in his headquarters. He purposefully went to that place to fill up buckets. He would do his homework. He would find out who all are there who had very good news in the past month or something, and he will reach that place. He will go to the desk of, let's say, Vipin, and he go to Vipin and say, Vipin, I'm so happy you've completed your MBA. I believe you finished the studies for MBA and done it. Now Vipin sitting there, the big CEO of that company comes and he's congratulating him, and Vipin is like, delighted. I mean, it's way beyond imagination. He's so happy. So what does Vipin do? He spreads his happiness around to us. It's like a lightning stroke to everybody around you. Vipin, yeah, the guy came and told me that just imagine he knows I've done an MBA. He go to another guy and say, it's great, man, you run the marathon and you done it in under 4 hours. That's wonderful. I could never bloody come below 4 hours. No, just one statement from the CEO to a person who would not even imagine whether his boss knows about this. And there you were electrifying. There are a lot of armed forces officers sitting in this webinar today. We know the power. We know the power very well. When you go to the units, and when you see a soldier, and you say, Baswaraj, kya haal hai? Sab theek thak hai? And Baswaraj, oh, sahab, sab theek thak hai. Jain sahab. Oh, Baswaraj is on fire after that. And Baswaraj day is made. I mean, he's done it. You've taken his name as a commanding officer. You've appreciated his work or whatever. You just recognized him. Yeah, that's it. See the power, and leaders do this. Leaders don't go to find out what's the fault in this place. Leaders go to ignite areas, ignite offices, teams, and whatever else that there is of the organization. Very important. You want to kill productivity? Don't praise people. Don't recognize them. And what do you have? You have a load of disengaged people. And what do the disengaged? They become negative employees. And what do the negative employee do? They kill productivity. You don't fill buckets. It's a choice you're making. You dip into the buckets and take out the water. That's another choice you're making as a leader. In fact, what is mentioned in the bottom is true for productivity and for the betterment of the organization. Negative people should stay at home. कि भाई साहब तुम घर में रहो. तुम तो ऑफिस आया ही मत करो. There are a lot of people who come to the office and they spread absolute negativity. They really get down people around them. And what they're actually doing is taking out water from all the buckets. And that's not the kind of person you would want around in a workplace. Short of firing the guy, uh, you can take a call of asking the person to stay. Now, the problem as far as recognition is concerned is is when we want to be recognized. We looking up to the boss. कि boss मैंने ना वो जो project था I've done it very well and I've achieved my areas. I've in fact exceeded them. Recognize me. But when it comes to us recognizing our teammates, the ones below us, we hesitate. Why do we hesitate? A lot to do with the makeup of people. But that's what defines you, man. That's what defines you. Are you the kind of person who's looking out to see the positives of people, or are you the kind of person who's dipping water out of the buckets around you? It's a choice you're making as a leader. Managers who spread positivity, positive emotions around them will see the difference immediately. Absolutely immediately. In fact, this is one of the we do a lot of trainings. Sandesh and I do a lot of trainings, and we actually, when in our leadership classes, we ask the leaders, the corporates, we say when you enter a room, in one glance, can you see whose bucket is full and whose bucket is not full? I mean, each one of us is actually transmitting transmitting of what's really going on with us, with our body language, by the way we talk, or by the way we are drooping, or the posture that we have, or our facial expressions. We are a transmitting set of human beings. And if I'm as a leader, I can't look around and see who's where. I'm losing out very badly. And that's why we talk about EQ. We talk about the empathy that you have. Can you recognize the emotion in the people around you? If you can't, please develop the skill of recognizing the emotion in people. In fact, you will have to get yourself out of the scene, not be self-centered about me, I, myself, and start looking at people and seeing if they displaying some emotion that you want to do something about. For example, if there's somebody who's sitting like this, you got to walk across and say, Sandy, what's the problem, man? You're looking a little down. And Sandy's going to turn around and say, wow. I mean, in his mind, he'll say, my God, my leader's really taking interest in me. And Sandy will say, sir, वो कुछ नुकसान हो गया, कुछ खराब हो गया घर में. I'm very worried about the food, whatever. If you have somebody enthusiastic like this, and you say, hey, great man, I see you looking very happy, and she says, yeah, good news, my son's done very well in school. Wow, yee. Now what have you done? You filled it. You've taken people and put them on top. But you can only do that if you have the eyes of a leader to see what's going on with people around you. And see, you can't be empathic. You can't make that statement to fill their buckets up. Every moment matters. So we talked about 20,000 interactions in the day. Are these positive? Are these negative? Well, are they neutral? If they are neutral, they just pass by. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to you. In fact, single moments in your life have been imprinted as far as you're concerned. If I have to ask you a question like, where were you on the day that the planes crashed in New York? Every one of us will remember that moment. If I personally ask you, do you remember the day that your child was born? And every one of us has got it imprinted here. I remember very correctly. I was in base hospital, and I was under this jamun tree when the nurse came out, and I went running, and she said, "You got your first daughter." It's just imprinted like this. Every one of us carries this with us. There are a lot of moments in life that you want to remember, you want to forget, but there's and makes a lot of difference to what you are every day. The irony of it is, if you ask people, you want to be around positive people, Everyone say yes, yes. I want to be. I'm more productive when around positive people. But let me give you an example. All of you probably have children, so I'm going to show you the report card of your child. Of course, these days the report card slightly different. It doesn't give you such percentages, or it gives you. I'm not very sure. Now here's a mother whose child has got a report card like so. English 86%, Hindi 82%, Maths 91%. She's in class 9. Okay. Physics 9%, chemistry 45%, physical training 90%. To the Indian mind, our eyes naturally, I mean, a lot of you saying, no, 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 it's all right, it's all right. But naturally go to this point here. Naturally. Now take this analogy into the workplace, and you are hired for a job and then expected to change to fit into that job. What does that mean? That means all your training needs, all your appraisals are based on the fact that, boss, these are the things you can't do, and therefore start doing it. Your communication is weak. Though you might be an engineer who's for some software, but your boss is going to tell you, your communication is not good. It doesn't matter whether the communication is required in your job description or not. But the whole system is looking at the negative side of the story, and that's not a very good place to be. Uh, an experiment was done, and this is about disengagement in the workplace. Three categories of managers were examined: managers who focused on the strengths of employees. That means they deliberately looked at a person and looked at the talent the person had and focused on the strengths of the employees. Managers would focus on the weaknesses of the employees. Weaknesses of the employees. कि तेरे को ये भी नहीं आता, तेरे में ये टैलेंट भी नहीं है, तुम टाइम पे नहीं आते हो, तुमको ये भी ठीक करना चाहिए, all of that negativity. The third category of people had nothing to do with the employees, no interaction. What is the level of attrition that these workplaces had? It's a very good story for us. The managers who focused and engaged people on their strengths, they had 1% disengagement on the job. That means not many people were wanting to leave that organization. Managers who focused on the weaknesses had 22% disengagement on the job. People are looking for jobs, people want to leave the place, people are not satisfied. All the criteria or attributes that people had worked out for this kind of a experiment. But surprisingly, it's a category which is amazing. Managers who did not give a damn about their employees did not have a positive or a negative interaction. Most of them wanted to bloody leave the job. 40% wanted to leave the job. 40% were disengaged as far as it is concerned. Is engagement important in the workplace? Engagement is paramount in any workplace. It's damn important. We all know that. We all absolutely know that. Another very good experiment done by a man called John Gottman. He met many couples, and in a very neutral environment, he observed the couples for 15 minutes. Just for 15 minutes, he saw what kind of interactions they were having. Actually, he was looking at how much of positive or negative interactions these people are having. And he made a prediction. He made a prediction that in 10 years, this would be the state of this couple. This couple would have divorced, this couple would still be in a marriage. On observing the couples for only 15 minutes each, his predictions were more than 92% correct. And what are the major findings as far as this experiment was concerned? And the major finding was those who have 5:1, 5 positive to 1 negative interaction between them in those 15 minutes, 5-1, they had a happy marriage and they were still together after 10 years. Those who had one or one, one positive, one negative, they predicted that they won't be together in 10 years and they had already divorced, most of them. So, studying this as well as the workplace, what works as far as leaders is concerned, that I must have percentage more than 3 is to 1. That means 3 positives to 1 negative. 3 positives to 1 negative. But if you take this a little ahead, that means this is good. 5 is to 1 is very good. But if you go beyond 13 is to 1, that means you're only giving positives and there is no, you don't reprimand the person for anything. The productivity goes down. Now, you just can't be goody goody all the time and say, oh, I'm going to be positive, positive, positive. And if someone does the wrong thing, no, no problem, no problem. It's all good. It's all good. Actually, sweeping the dirt under the carpet, not required. The ratio 5 is to 1 is good. Anything over 3 is to 1 is good. What are we talking about? We are talking about positive interactions. We are talking about filling the buckets versus taking out the water from the buckets. It makes a difference to your life also. If you've been having positive interactions, a lot of you must have read the book Ikigai, and it makes a difference to how your brain functions, affects your health in such a way. If you've had more positives, you are likely to live 10 years more. And if you had more negatives, then the stress, the anger, the negativity, all that combines together to take you to the grave 10 years before the positive guy goes. So it's making a difference to your health and your quality of life that you have, the productivity, the positive. How many people out of 10 say they are more productive when they are around positive people? I don't even need to ask you. The percentage is 9 out of 10 say I am more productive when there are positive people around me. One says it doesn't make a difference to me, positive or negative, but most people say I want positive people around me. Now, the funny thing about this story is there are some people who have a natural tendency to be happier. It's like a weight. If you have a normal life, then a lot of people are thin, a lot of people are normal, and a lot of people get overweight if they do nothing special. So it goes for happiness. You know, there are some people who are naturally, positive, and there are some people who are naturally not so positive. So, but shouldn't stop us from a diet of positive emotions with the other. The point is, it shouldn't stop us. And if you want to make positive interactions, if you want to fill up the bucket of anybody around you, please personalize it. A person who runs a marathon would love for you to say, hey, you're running a marathon. I'm absolutely jealous of you, man. I mean, I wish I could do what you're doing. You're so healthy at the age that you are. It's wonderful. Instead, you tell the marathoner, I think you're a good singer. I don't know, but I think you look like a good singer. And the guy says, never sung in my life, man. What's wrong with you? So make it personal, individualize your person positive interactions with people. All right, so at the end, I've got an action plan for you. This is what you need to do if you want to be fillers as leaders. First one, obviously, prevent bucket dipping. So finding fault with others, looking at the weaknesses only, taking off people, saying the wrong thing, being negative around people. Just leave it, man. Just imagine that your bucket itself is going to be dipped if you dip the bucket of the other. You imagine that you have this dipper in your hand which has two places. If you dip, you also get dipped. If you are pulling down somebody, you are actually inside of yourself pulling yourself down. Stop it. Not required. First strategy. Strategy number two, shine a light on what is right. Ken Blanchard in his trainings also is talking about that. Where you see something right being done, celebrate it. किसी ने किसी को help किया है workplace में. Someone has helped somebody in the workplace. If you are the leader around, you be bouncing on that thing and say, "Wow, man, I'm so happy, Rohan. You've done such a good job, and you've helped Ashok out. I mean, it's lovely. Yeah, it's I'm not going to add. I'm not going to add on lockdown. Let's have a drink in the evening. That will be, हम सबको थोड़ा बुरा लगेगा. But it has to be celebrated. Anything, any achievement, someone has stood up for the values of your organization or your family. It's a child of yours who's done a good thing. Celebrate it. You gotta lighten it, because when you celebrate it, that person gets lit. His bucket is full. He goes to fill up other bucket. Shine a light on what is right. At the end of the day, and I'm going to these questions very fast so that it doesn't leave us. At the end of the day, audit for yourself. If you can answer these questions, helped someone in the last 24 hours. I'm an exceptionally courteous person. I like being around positive person. I have praised someone in the last 24 hours. I've developed a knack for other people feeling good. I'm more productive when I'm I cared about him or her. I make it a point to be acquainted with people wherever I go. When I receive recognition, it makes me want to give recognition. Last week, I've listened to someone talk through his or her goals and ambitions. I make unhappy people laugh. I make it a point to call each of my associates by the name he or she likes to be called. I notice what my colleagues do at a level of excellence. I always smile at people when I meet them. I feel good about giving praise when I see good behavior. This is you. This is what defines you. What defines you? Can you do an audit every day at the end of the day to in your mind see how many buckets have you filled up? Have you spoken to that friend you were thinking of speaking to? Congratulated someone on a thing that has been done. Even in lockdown, no one stops you. Choice is yours. Strategy three: make best friends. What is a best friend? I mean, best friend is a concept that we carry from our school days. In our school days, we used to have best friends, and a lot of us had many best friends. Tu bhi best friend hai mera, tu bhi hai. Then there would be fight. Who's the best friend and all. But what I'm saying is, those workplaces which encourage social bonding amongst people are more productive than places where each of you have nothing to do with the other. I've seen workplaces where I go to many companies, so I've seen workplaces where when I told a participant, hey, why don't you have lunch with me? He says, नहीं sir, मेरे को lunch उसी के साथ करना, वो मेरा एक friend है, हम रोज lunch एक साथ करते हैं, we share our lunch. Wow, good. It's a very small thing. It's a social, it's a personal issue, but it makes a lot of difference to your wanting to go to or not go to office. You're wanting to stay there, and you get the feel of your bucket being full. It's important to have best friends, even in your workplace. Strategy 4. Now, this is more particular for all you guys sitting out here in lockdown. Give unexpectedly. You are expecting, everybody's expecting something on their birthdays, their anniversaries, something, any occasion. But look at the surprise when you give unexpectedly. Whether it's a hug, whether it's a compliment, whether it's a cake, whether it's a glass of wine, whether it's your volunteering to do the dusting of the house. I will do pocha today, whatever else, man. But that gives more pleasure to the other person than anything else. A gift which is not being expected. The golden rule This is strategy 5. Golden rule is do to others as you would have them done. I'll read that again. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But there is also a platinum rule which says, do unto others as they would have you do unto them. This sentence always confused me, so I read it again and again. Do unto others as they would have you do unto them. For that, you need to have such a high level of empathy to know what you want to get done unto you. How do you want to be treated? How do you? What is the state of mind that you are in, that you expect me to behave in a certain way? Look at the amount of work involved. That's strategy 5 as far as filling the bucket is concerned. And it's called rule. Next time you have a team meeting, next time you're sitting with with team or your teammates or your reportees, ask them these questions. Like I said before, those of you who have an army background would realize that we were trained to do this. We had a troop diary, which, if not updated, we kicked for it. By what name do you like to be called? What are your hot buttons, hobbies, interests? What increases your positive emotions and fills your bucket? From whom do you like the recognition? What kind of recognition do you like best? What form of recognition motivates you most? What is the greatest recognition you've received? Have that conversation. I would have run a video for you, but on the Zoom, the video doesn't run. But this is a beautiful ad of a company called Life Jacket. A lot of you must have seen it. It's about, and I would ask you to look at this, and I'll share the link with you with Vijay and Ashok. Uh, how do you feel when you see this video? And in the video, um, very simply, there's a man who helps a small child, and the child helps a old lady cross the road. The old lady helps a young lady in her car park. Car parking lady helps another guy. He helps somebody pick up the luggage. That guy from the luggage goes and gives a hamburger to a homeless man, who helps another lady, who helps another lady in the flower, who further then gives a water to the guy in the life jacket. What I'm saying is, what you give comes back to you. It's a circle that you're in. Neki kar, darya mein dal. And you feel good about it. When you see buckets being filled up, you feel good about it. You're standing there, someone helps an old who is fallen, he helps him up. You feel good about it. Your bucket is getting filled up, although you're not involved. Very good. So, coming to the end of today's workshop, we'll just kind of want this. If you follow this principle of the bucket and the filler, in 1 year's time, your workplace will be more productive, your friends, your colleagues and customers more satisfied, your marriage will be stronger, and you'll enjoy closer relationships and a healthier and happier life. Guys, thanks for listening and filling my bucket. I'm going to finish with live long and prosper, my favorite character Spock, and may you keep filling buckets. All you have to do this on this video. Come to the video. Yeah.
So,
Hey man,
Ashok sir, I would request you to kindly do the vote of thanks.
Yeah.
There are a lot of complimentary messages in the chat box. So over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Vijay. I think Vijay, it's been wonderful really hearing you. You were too busy entertaining us, giving us the knowledge, and I was following the chat box, all that information which kept coming over there. So much of positive, really filled up buckets, nice and proper. They're overflowing now, and I wish all carry these positive ideas from here. You know, I remember having read somewhere, positivity, recognizing others is a divine quality. Praising others is a divine quality. So precisely, Vijay, what you taught us today, what we learned in the service, and what we've seen in the corporate world also for the last so many years now, that wherever the leaders come forward, where the empathy level is high, the positivity increases, the productivity increases, the overall environment in the organizations increase. We have clear examples across the board. So I could see the smiles on the faces, more and more videos coming up now. Folks, you can open up your videos. You can show a thumbs up to Colonel Vijay. Yeah, you can see not only one, you can see two thumbs at
not thumbs up.
so that's where it is. Folks, Colonel Vijay is a trainer, Colonel Vijay and Colonel Sandesh. Colonel Sandesh is also around, that's Colonel Sandesh on the right. So both of them are partners, and they're doing a lot in the industry. So you can use the services. Visage is their group, and from there they've been doing a lot of both technical training and such kind of training, behavioral training, where they're improving the overall environment as such. So, I'm just trying to recollect from what you mentioned. The example that you gave, Colonel Vijay, wonderful, especially going back to the war, right from Korean War, from 51 to 53, what the, prisoners went through. Once been also in the service for a good almost 27 years, but some of the examples are even new to me, that they were told to self-criticize. Now, see, imagine, if you tell a child, if you're taught always, as I can see young parents around, young mothers, young fathers around, see, you must never tell a negative thing to a child. Tell positives to the children, young children especially. They are, so impressionable at that time. And so whatever impressions you build up in their mind, those carry on for life. Those become their, dots for life, and those dots become life's, their habits for life. So very important, when you self-criticize, when you criticize a child, or when they were self-criticizing these prisoners, they were, lowering their own lives, themselves, they're looking themselves down also, and their seniors also. Then you give the example of a colonel commanding officer who was also a prisoner over there, and a private rebuking him. So how much when you look down, you look down on the whole environment as such. In fact, taking the example, quite often these days you find the leadership is doing a lot in the country, but you find a whole lot of negativity coming in. So I don't think that kind of thing is good. We must hold back on a negativity. If you can't say positive, at least hold it at the similar level only. Praise and leave it at that level. Don't go down to negative level. I think those kind of examples, Colonel Vijay, wonderful. What you mentioned, the example that you gave from Dawn from
any questions?
Yeah, somebody's got
any
some questions.
Sir?
Yeah, please go ahead. Who's got the
question? I'm asking any questions.
Okay. I can only appreciate. Many thanks, Colonel. Great session, positive session. Thanks to both Colonels. That is Colonel Sandesh and you. Good work. Thanks for the effective session. Thunderstorms applause. The thunderstorm applause is for you, sir. Manu Basi is giving that. Manu Basi is one of our leaders again out here. Thank you, Manu. Thanks for that. On behalf
Manu,
of
I over drink. Manu को drink देना पड़ेगा मेरे को अभी.
We'll all drink together, sir. Don't worry.
Yeah. वो भी time होगा.
We touched a figure of we crossed a century, Vijay, at one stage. Some people have left. Probably they would be having another sessions also. Thank you so much, Colonel Vijay, for all your time. We gave you short notice, and with that short notice only you brought it up for us so beautifully. Thank you so much. We look forward to more sessions from you, Colonel Vijay. We will see
awesome, sir. Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Hind, sir.
Thanks from Sandesh and me, both of us. Thank you.
And thanks all the audience to be with us on this session. Wonderful session.